Oh, look who's back. And you didn't think we were going to return in 2025, but we're here and we're ready to talk to you guys about everything Alabama. We didn't get fired. See, here's our. All right, welcome to Elephant in the Room with Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. The questions.
With that graphic, we didn't get fired. We didn't get a raise either.
Well, we haven't been on since December 28th, and word on the street was what was going on. Had this show been canceled? Had we been let go? And the suspense was there. You weren't available, so we just kind of rolled through things. I was in Key West. But we're back. We're back, and we get to talk Alabama. So, roll Tide, man. How were your holidays?
Man, it was good. It was good. Nonstop, really. I felt like I didn't have a day off. I had to rewatch some of the bowl game. I was, in the office during kickoff. So, which kind of glad I didn't get to catch that live.
I watched it at the Hog Breath Saloon in Key West.
Yeah.
What a disaster, man. What an embarrassment that game was. Not the winning and the losing. It's just that once again, like we're terrible, especially early in that game.
Well, that was kind of a summary of how the season fell apart. It was, and we showed up or we didn't, and that was one of those games where, we just, of course, the rain in the first half didn't help. Being in a bowl game that obviously the team wishes they were in the playoff, just a tough scenario to get up for, but still same mistakes, same sloppy play. But again, it's, to me, this year was honestly probably a little better than I thought it would have been from the outset of the season. And didn't know what to expect. Kalen DeBoer, while yes, he inherited a team from Coach Saban and a program that was in as good a shape as it could have been, upon the time of his departure. This transfer portal, it's still a nightmare trying to replace 26 new faces or 26 guys that are leaving. And I think this is going to be the start of the Kalen DeBoer era, the true start where he's got a clean slate and he knows who he's got and where his holes are, and he's got familiarity within the locker room.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, because Paul Feinbaum says he's on the hot seat, 9-4, 2 disastrous losses.
He's not on the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat. I think if he wins 7 games this year, 8 games this year, that now we're starting to talk. But year 3 is where you really find out, whether this may be a long-term player or not. I feel, and I think he will be. I think Kalen DeBoer. Again, I love Kalen DeBoer. I really like Nick Sheridan. Love Kane Wommack. I think you've got the pieces there. I think he's got the mentality. I think he's got the right temperament. I saw him last night. I loved, he talked about, where he felt like he was, especially the difference in this year and last year. And I agree with him. And it's something that we've talked about. I just mentioned this year is just so much different in that he gets to build his own team with his ideal skill sets and personnel. Whereas again, last year you stuck with what you got, and you better. It may not be the guys that you're used to coaching or guys that typically fit your system, but you got to figure it out, and you got no choice. This year, you got some older guys, a lot of guys coming back that were draft eligible. Obviously, losing Tyler Booker, Jihad Campbell, and Jalen. But I mean, outside of that, I think everybody for the most part is coming back outside of your transfer guys. But I think they're okay with those guys that are leaving. I mean, obviously you hate to see some of them leave, but I think there's at least time to plan ahead and fill those gaps with a lot bigger window.
Yep. Jamarian Latham has decided that he's coming back. Jeremy Bernard is coming back. Had some guys over the weekend. Keon Sabb coming back. And a lot, it's so weird how it works now. It's like, hey, you could go to the NFL or you could go to the transfer portal. But hey, guess what? We're not going to do either one of them. We're going to come back. So that's news. It's news when you leave. It's, it's obviously for the NFL, for other programs. It's just a different world of athletics overall in college. There's no rules. I think that's eventually going to change. But right now, I mean, it's just the Wild West, I mean, watching like 20 some guys leave, 21, 20 some, some guys come back, not even 20 some, but like I guess at this point it's like around 10. I feel like the mid-range guys, the depth guys are the ones that really hurt you because they're not playing, right? You're giving them a scholarship. They're not contributing other than practicing. And then, they're not good enough to put out on the field yet. And then somebody else is going to come in and say, hey, I'll give you some playing time. Here's a little money. You can come here. And now your whole investment's been taken away. It's and that's the problem that I have. Well, there's 100 problems, but that's one of the biggest problems I have right now. And it's not just Alabama, but it's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, we've turned it into, and again, I mean, the ruling right off the bat put everybody in a bad spot because you didn't have enough time to create rules. I mean, it was going to be chaos as soon as that. It was a judge in California, I think, that made the ruling on that, and right upon that ruling, I mean, you got no choice. You have to make moves, and you don't have time to put parameters in place. So I think that's coming. We can't operate like this forever. But I tell you what, the guys that are playing in this window of time are really going to be able to capitalize. I mean, there's no good situation when every bit of leverage is on one side of the argument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of how it feels right now. But time to reset things, right? I guess one of the biggest questions that a lot of us have is with Ryan Grubb fired by the Seahawks and the NFL. Is he going to come to Alabama? Before we talk about that, though, let me remind you guys that we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use the promo code NEXTROUND to double your initial deposit. That's mybookie.ag. The promo code is NEXTROUND, and we want you to be a part of what we're doing here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up at Cover Crimson on the YouTube channel and covercrimson.com. But anyway, we're like the only place talking about Ryan Grubb as a possibility. I'm sure that, if he wants to come to Alabama, I'm sure that Kalen DeBoer is going to find a way to get him here.
Yeah, man, who knows? The Nick Sheridan. Nick Sheridan being our offensive coordinator right now, I like him a lot. And again, people can say what they want to say. You still don't have you haven't had enough time to really give a true assessment of what his capabilities are. I think he did a really good job this year. Obviously, could have played better in certain games, and I don't put that on him. Consistency and effort is kind of obviously that's something that falls within the umbrella of coaching, but at the same time, you got to have a locker room leaders that come together and really police themselves on consistency of effort. And I mean, you don't get beat 24-3 by Oklahoma if you're playing hard every play. I mean, I'm sorry, the talent level, I don't care what plays you call. You should be able to at least hang in there and make it a close game with Oklahoma. 24-3 is just a complete lack of effort. It's bad on all fronts in terms of just football alone. So again, I think that he's done a great job this year. What happens with Ryan Grubb, I don't know, but it's pretty tough for me to sit here and say that you just bring Ryan Grubb in based on his past performance with Kalen DeBoer when you got a guy in Nick Sheridan who I think deserves a chance and really hasn't had time to prove himself, over a multi-year period.
Mm-hmm. No, but I mean, they could work together. They worked together in the past. I just felt like something wasn't quite there this year. And we talked about it before. I felt like maybe it would have benefited them to have some SEC veterans, the Kevin Steele type guys, somewhere along the line, and it felt like it was a real learning curve. I was ready to give them a B+ on the season. The bowl game dropped them down to a C+ to me. Professor Gillespie's hard, but I learned from Dr. Alza Coffee at Alabama over at Ten Hort Hall. It's got to start at the beginning and it's got to end at the end. You can't get to the final exam. You fail. Guess what? Going in there.
Yeah, it's true. They don't have the SEC look to them yet. I mean, that old looks like they rode a bull too many times and cussed a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ideal SEC guy. I mean, just you can almost tell by just talking to a coach whether he's been in the SEC or not, just by watching a post game interview.
Well,
It's just there's definitely a style, and I love DeBoer's mentality. I love the way he approaches the game, approaches the players. I mean, he's very, very calm, and you feel really good about the direction that this program's going when you hear him speak. But it's definitely different than the traditional SEC. I mean, you got Kevin Steele or Sal Sunseri, these guys coming in, guns blazing, and really dominating a room just with verbal force. I mean, it's a different feel for sure. But I got to say, at the same time, I love that calm demeanor, that calm, positive, feel. But there's multiple ways to win. There's multiple ways to lose. You never know until you get between the lines.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That is true. Well, 9-4, never did get that 10th win. Could have easily gotten 11 wins, 12 wins, easily. They just, what? It was so uncharacteristic of this program to lose games against teams that weren't ranked, and that's, why this season to me, as far as like achieving everything that this team was capable of achieving, they didn't do it, because they didn't take care of the games that they should have won. But what we found out with Coach Saban, and you've talked about it many times, is that those games are hard too. You have to be prepared to go out there and win those games, and they just weren't prepared to go do that. And they've got to figure that out between now and next year. Or the other thing is that what if the talent level is getting to this and we're just like everybody else again?
Yeah. I mean, there's, Georgia is obviously one of the best teams in the country. Now, they lose to Notre Dame. They got their backup quarterback in there. I mean, we talked it on the tailgate show. I mean, I picked Notre Dame. You lose one of your best players on the team, and especially at the quarterback position, that's going to be a tough go, especially when you're playing a well-coached team in Notre Dame that's disciplined. And you obviously can tell they have a lot of leadership. But Georgia with Carson Beck is one of the best teams in the country, without a doubt. I mean, we dominate them in the first half. We end up beating them. You put us, you put Georgia, you put Texas, in the playoff. We're gonna fare pretty similarly. Us probably less because we play less consistent. But these other teams, I mean, playoff scenario when tomorrow's not promised. I mean, Vandy, Oklahoma, those teams aren't hanging in there. the talent level I think is getting closer, but there's still a difference between the ones at Georgia, the ones at Alabama, and then the ones at Vandy, the ones at Oklahoma this year. I mean, for me, it was just it was a lack of consistency, and that to me falls on the culture within the locker room. And you know, those guys are really good guys. I think there was a lot of transition, a lot of chaos, and they just didn't have time to kind of unify in less than really 6 months.
Right. How do you fix that culture?
I mean, I don't think there's a real culture problem. I just think that there were so many distractions going on at Alabama at the time. I don't think those guys. I think it's a very tough situation to handle for a bunch of guys in their young 20s. To really unify and stay on point. And I can't imagine now with NIL and just obligations outside of football, school, football itself. I think it's just a lot for those guys to just find structure in, and especially in that short period of time when there's so much upheaval, new system, new coach, completely different schedule, I'm sure. And just to get some consistency is pretty tough, especially for those young guys. And I don't care how mature you are in college. That's a lot of distractions.
Well, position you know all about at Alabama is the quarterback spot. Jalen Milroe to the NFL, which we've been telling you guys that for a long time. I mean, he was never coming back. He was always going to the NFL. It's funny how like people will slide in your DMs and stuff and be like, he's coming back. And it's like, and he was never coming back. He told you that from day one. He told you that from day one. He said this was his senior year. He's going in the NFL. It's a waste of time at this point to even talk about what he did or didn't do. And I think it's time to start focusing on the next quarterback. Ty Simpson and Austin Mack will be battling it out. And then Keelon Russell is on campus, and he's talking about getting to be the starting quarterback ASAP. And I got to tell you, man, I love that. Different style than you. But before he even stepped on campus, he's talking about being the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, that's worked for some and not worked for some as well.
Right.
You can say what you want. It really doesn't matter until you start practicing and proving it on the field. I mean, I can't imagine, nowadays, again, with the NIL stuff, I mean, with all the money comes a lot of responsibility, and you find out pretty quick what he's made of. And again, I hope he does really well. When you say stuff like that, you really better be able to back it up. And again, I hope he can. I hope he shows up, lights out, kicks ass, and is one of those quarterbacks at Alabama that wins a national championship. I hope he's in the Heisman talk at some point. But he's got confidence. There's no doubt about it.
When you played at Florida State and you were there, Jameis Winston came in. I mean, he was a guy that was like highly recruited. This was a guy that I know from baseball that they were telling me was going to be a first-round pick had he gone in the draft. And I just know that from scouts that watched. I mean, maybe a second round, but he was going to be a really high baseball pick. What was it like when he came in? I mean, I'm kind of looking at these two guys similarly, right? Where they're going to probably get a shot to be quarterback pretty fast. Did he sit for a year and then play? And then, what was the beginning like? And how do you relate this with Keelon Russell, or do you at all?
I can't remember if he redshirted or not, but EJ Manuel was the starter, when I got there and when Jameis got there. And so, there was never a quarterback controversy or competition or whatever you want to call it until EJ left. And, yeah, I mean, EJ was one of the best teammates I had, very talented, first-round draft pick. I mean, the guy he had it all. And so honestly, I can't remember. Yeah, because Clint Trickett he was he was the backup my second year, which would have been Jameis's first year. So we all kind of knew, you better sit back and learn as much as you can until EJ leaves, and be ready in case he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I remember when he came in, it didn't really matter because EJ was a starter, and then that next spring camp was when we started swapping reps, and that's really when we started figuring out who the guy was going to be.
And because I can't see a scenario where he would really come in and be able to compete this year for the job. I mean, man, I hope he does, right? But I mean, I feel like that's probably slim chances that it could happen, just because there's just so much that goes into it. But how could that happen? Like, what would a quarterback have to do to be able to come in and be able to compete coming out of high school?
I'll say this. I think nowadays with with these no huddle, a lot of these no huddle tempo offenses, you're not huddling up. The plays aren't as long. I mean, I think it's more simplified. And then you've got these kids that are, doing traveling 7-on-7. They're playing nonstop year round, which, if I had a son, I wouldn't be the one sport year round type parent. But there are a lot who do, and I think there's benefits. I think there's costs in that. But again, I think the simplified college offenses, and some are, some aren't. It just depends, and I don't know. I don't really know the verbiage or how they're relaying plays at Alabama, but I do think it's definitely been simplified a little bit. I mean, you listen to a play in the NFL versus a play in college now. It's it's completely different, or it was when I was coming out. At Florida State, the play, we still huddled, and we had a lot of tags, you formation, motion, shift, protection or run, tags, route tree, then the tags. It was far more pro style, and so
Right.
I felt like there was a lot more to it. But again, learning any system is, there's a degree of toughness, and it's different for each guy. But at Florida State, it was a lot. I mean, you had, I want to say, 10 base protections, and they were all numbers. There wasn't really a word for a protection that helps you remember it better. You had to remember the number and the protection and the mic calls and how to adjust protections and all that. And so it took a little while. What made you hot? What the reaction to a pressure that made you hot was. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it depends on, hey, is he coming in and doing football from day one and focusing on it, or is he going to come in and enjoy the college lifestyle over the summer and not get serious until camp time? And the off season is really where you learn timing and develop rapport with receivers and understand when the ball needs to come out and what the angles need to be coming out versus certain coverages. So you pick up that and you learn that with your teammates. When I was in college, coaches weren't supposed to be around over the summertime. They changed it midway through my college career where you could have a little bit of an install with a coach, but then the full-on 7-on-7 in practice was players only. I think that's changed a little bit. Hell, now I don't see how there's any rules now that you're getting paid. But again, it all depends on his mentality when he shows up. Is he showing up to play, or is he showing up to goof around? And even if he is serious about playing, he may not have enough time to learn it all. I mean, even some guys that really put their time in and their work in. Still nothing guaranteed. But the only way he's going to, possibly be able to play is coming in and really getting after it and putting a lot of time in from day one.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out what happens.
But Ty, I don't know much about Austin Mack. I know he has from the spring, till some of these games he played in this year. I mean, I thought he looked a lot more comfortable out there in game time than he did during the spring game. And he's got the tools, man. He's got an arm. Looks like he's got the feet. Again, looked a lot more comfortable. But, Ty's the coach's son. Man, he obviously gets football and he loves it. He's eaten up by it. And he reminds me a lot of Clint Trickett in that when he goes in the game, he's going to understand where to go with the football. And he's just a nerd. I mean, he's going to know more than anybody on that field than any other quarterback. I mean, he's going to know exactly where you need to be. He's going to know, guys lined up on the line of scrimmage. He's going to have the wherewithal to say, no, you're lined up wrong. That's going to give us a penalty. Just make adjustments, fix those protections. Coaches' sons are just different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I hope so, because it'd be nice to get out there and, win some games. I'll tell you one thing that we found out, and that college football doesn't figure it out. It makes absolutely no sense to play a tough schedule. Absolutely no sense at all. It's a waste of time, like to see these playoff matchups and everything. And I got to tell you, the Arizona State game was a lot of fun to watch, but the rest of them have been terrible. But I mean, why would you play a tough schedule? Play a bunch of weak teams and then a couple of good games, and then get, even Ohio State and Penn State and all those teams, Notre Dame. I mean, they'd play these easy schedules, and it benefited them. Those teams look a lot fresher than the teams that like the Georgias and the Texases. I mean, because you get beat up, man, when you play these. We're playing like NFL schedules compared to these guys.
Well, I mean, Georgia can speak to that. Lost, arguably their best player on offense, in the SEC championship game. And I think that, to me, I just told you on that tailgate show, I took Notre Dame, and I think Riley Leonard's a great quarterback. I think he's a great leader. What?
You had a good run there, didn't you?
Yeah. I was 4-0. I think I'm 8-0 in the playoffs.
Are you? Don't brag.
Yeah, you and old Abraham laughing me off the stage. Yeah.
Who could have known? Who could have known that?
I don't know. But
that big white running back was like I was like watching a guy on a video game. What was his name?
Scatterboo,
yeah. He's gonna throw it. He's gonna catch it. He's gonna run it. Like anything like that.
I told you that Texas is going to get out to a lead, and then Arizona State's coming back. No, of course, they made it closer than I thought.
You didn't tell me that. You had no idea that was going to be the way it was.
Oh no! I mean, I didn't think it was going to overtime. I thought Texas would cover, and which. Yeah, they still should have made that field goal and not gone into overtime. But
when they missed that field goal, I was like, "Whoa, this could be bad."
All the momentum on Arizona State's side.
Yeah,
and then Texas, didn't they convert a 4th and 8 or something like that?
Yeah, or something. Yeah,
it was crazy.
And then 2 plays, they scored 2 touchdowns, and it was over that fast.
Yeah.
And it's like I was just trying to enjoy that one from Rick's on Duval, watching my guy Adrian play a little music and make fun of people. And I'm like, I can't even enjoy this because this game is killing me right now. that game was insane.
That's probably the best game of the year so far.
Probably.
Well, that's our first. Georgia Notre Dame wasn't bad. It just felt like Georgia was playing with a half-loaded gun,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just couldn't get it going, and again, it's tough. You lose your leader. I mean, SEC championship, I think it was, it provided a spark because everybody was, I think it was almost like fabricated excitement that ended up working out for them. But once you kind of settle in, it's like, oh man, all right, here we go. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well,
I mean, like I said, I like Riley Leonard a lot. I think he's a great quarterback, great leader. But they beat Georgia with 90 yards passing. I mean,
yeah. Well, Bama won a national championship like that one time against Miami in the Sugar Bowl.
yeah.
Yeah, just remember that. It's at the end of the day, and I don't believe in the term game manager. I mean, that's game winner. Like if you win the game, if it takes you 400 yards to do it or takes you 100 yards to do it, doesn't matter. The bottom line is the bottom line, and that's winning football games. And Riley from down here in Fairhope is becoming a city hero. He's becoming an LA icon. Good for him, man.
No, I agree with you. Hey, whatever it takes. That run at the end of the game where he got flipped, for the first down. Yeah. I mean, how do you not pull for that?
He's a former Pirate, just like my kid. A current Pirate. But good for him, man. Good to see the Fairhope guy. I guess that's who I'm pulling for the rest of the way. I
gotta pull for Notre Dame. Riley, he comes and works out at QB Country. So
look at that. Little QB Country drop. I feel really bad about Kirby's dad too, man. What a terrible, the whole Sugar Bowl, not even Sugar Bowl, but just the whole New Orleans thing, the terrorist attack and everything else down there, and his dad dying. The prayers go out to all those people that are affected by that, and condolences to the families. They had to change the date of the game. His dad had to have hip surgery, and he ended up dying. I mean, I'm sure that made it just that much tougher to do your job, when you're worried about your parent.
Oh yeah. I can't imagine. Heck, don't get me started on the New Orleans stuff. Just a lot of good people just down there for a game. Like we always say, kind of like talking about Brett this year, you just never know.
Yeah. Never know. I know, man. Thanks for the help with that too. And talking about Coach DeBoer doing the tailgate show and Brett getting on there a couple weeks before he died, and what it meant to him. And to think that Coach DeBoer took the time out to do that show. And Brett set the whole thing up. I mean, I was on there. You couldn't be there that day. And Coach DeBoer even was like, hey, when Coker can do it, we'll do another one,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought like that would be.
Man, he was great to see last night. That's what I mean. I'm always going to pull for whoever the head coach at Alabama is.
Yeah.
But, when you meet a guy and you start to get to know him and you can just tell, again, there's a lot of people in that building that I know and trust and respect their opinions. And everybody around there talks about how much they love him and how much they hope he wins so that they can keep working for him. And, I mean, you just got to pull for guys like that. I mean, I know my expectations this year, I felt like we met them. I think we set the bar high beating Georgia. But again, a tough scenario. But when you see a guy like that and you hear people talk about him that are working for him directly, that, I mean, in a span of less than a year, have this much respect for him and love for him and loyalty to him, you got to know he's a pretty special individual,
Yeah, he is. Did you get a chance to talk to him?
Yeah, a little bit. I talked mostly to Nick Sheridan, but talked to him a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, again, just same guy I've met and talked to every time. Just laid back, good. I mean, you can tell he's really excited about next year, and you can tell he feels so much better about. And he talked about, last year our guys just getting poached. Really, I mean, not getting poached, but entering the transfer portal, leaving, and we're just stuck there. We can't recruit anybody. There's nobody to get. You remember all that when he came in. I mean, it was in that period of time where we couldn't do anything. We just had to sit there and wave goodbye to everybody leaving, try to recruit them to keep them to stay.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna get Tank from St. Paul's?
I can't tell you about all that, but he was here in Mobile.
Oh, Tank, you need to stay home at Bama.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of fun finally getting back together and squashing those rumors that we were canceled to start 2025. We're back. We're going to try to be on here twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday for your viewing pleasure, everyone, on the Cover Crimson YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use that promo code next round to double your initial deposit and be part of what we're doing. $25 off for 25 years, or really the 25th year of this decade when you do the covercrimson.com website. So anything that I missed today?
I think you hit it all. You'll start getting Shank and Ryan back on here.
It's about time. I feel like I haven't seen Shank in years, and the same thing with Ryan, although I've seen him recently, but not recently enough. So time to get the guys back in here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, good show as always. Let's try to get back together Thursday.
Okay. Well, roll Tide, my friend.
Roll Tide.